Skin in the Game, Hidden Asymmetries in Daily Life, by Nassim Nicholas Taleb. Introduction. Have you ever heard the story of Antaeus? He was a figure from ancient Greek myth, a giant, the son of Mother Earth herself, and he had a rather strange and brutal hobby. He would challenge any traveler who passed through his lands to a wrestling match. He was invincible. Every time his opponent seemed to gain the upper hand, Antaeus would just touch the ground, and a surge of new, limitless strength from his mother would flow into him. He would then pin his victims and crush them, using their skulls to build a temple for his father, Poseidon. A dark story, I know, but it holds a profound secret. One day, the great hero Hercules was tasked with defeating Antaeus. Hercules was the strongest of all mortals, but even he struggled. He threw the giant to the ground, only to see him rise again, stronger than before. He tried again, and again. Antaeus seemed unbreakable. But then, Hercules understood. Antaeus's strength wasn't his own. It came from his connection to the earth. So, Hercules did something different. He lifted Antaeus high into the air, away from the ground, squeezing him in a mighty bear hug. Separated from his source of power, the giant grew weak. His struggles faded, and there, held between the earth and the sky, he was finally defeated. This ancient story is the key to understanding one of the most powerful and misunderstood ideas of our time. It's the core of the book we're going to explore today. Skin in the Game, by Nassim Nicholas Taleb. Taleb is a truly unique figure. He's not a typical academic, sitting in an ivory tower. For over 2 decades, he was a risk-taker, a trader in the chaotic pits of the financial markets, where a single bad decision could wipe you out. He made his living, and his fortune, by navigating uncertainty. And from that experience, he forged a philosophy that is as practical as it is profound. This book is his masterwork on a simple, yet revolutionary idea: that you cannot separate knowledge from contact with the ground. You cannot separate action from consequence. And anyone who tries to do so, anyone who makes decisions for others without sharing in the risks of those decisions, is like Hercules holding Antaeus in the air, powerful for a moment, but disconnected from the true source of strength and understanding. By the end of our journey today, I promise you this: you will have a powerful new lens through which to see the world. You'll be equipped with a kind of bullshit detector that will help you tell the difference between those who truly know what they're talking about and those who are just talking. You'll understand the hidden rules that govern fairness, success, and even survival itself. You will, in short, understand the timeless wisdom of having skin in the game. Book summary. Let's begin with a scene from the modern world. Imagine a group of policymakers, what Taleb calls interventionistas, sitting in a comfortable, air-conditioned office in Washington, D.C., or Brussels. They're brilliant people, with degrees from the best universities. They're looking at a map of a country far away, say Libya, and they decide that the leader of that country is a dictator who must be removed to bring democracy. They have charts, theories, and arguments that sound incredibly convincing. So, they support a rebellion. They help topple the government, and then they sit back and congratulate themselves on a job well done. They've removed the dictator. But on the ground, in that faraway land, chaos erupts. The country descends into civil war. Slave markets appear in public squares. Life for the average person becomes a nightmare. Do the policymakers in their comfortable offices pay a price for this disastrous outcome? No. They continue to draw their salaries. They get invited to speak at important conferences. They write columns in prestigious newspapers, perhaps even suggesting the very same regime change policy for another country. They have all the rewards of being right, and none of the consequences of being wrong. This, Taleb tells us, is the great sickness of the modern world. It is the problem of having no skin in the game. What does he mean by that phrase, skin in the game? It's not just about having a financial incentive or a share in the profits. That's only half the story. The true meaning is about symmetry. It's about having a share of the harm, paying a penalty if something goes wrong. If you have the rewards, you must also share in the risks. If you inflict risk on others, and they are harmed by your mistakes, you need to pay a price. It's a simple, ancient code of fairness. Taleb says that if you give an opinion, and someone follows it, you are morally obligated to be exposed to its consequences yourself. He puts it bluntly, don't tell me what you think, just tell me what's in your portfolio. Talk is cheap. Action, and the risk that comes with it, is what reveals the truth. This idea isn't new. In fact, it's as old as civilization itself. Nearly 4,000 years ago, in ancient Babylon, King Hammurabi had his laws carved onto a giant stone pillar for all to see. The central theme of that code was symmetry. It was designed to prevent people from hiding risks and passing them on to others. The most famous law from that code states, if a builder builds a house for a man and does not make its construction firm, and the house which he has built collapses and causes the death of the owner of the house, that builder shall be put to death. The builder had literal skin in the game. He couldn't cut corners and use cheap materials, hoping to be long gone when the house eventually crumbled. The consequences of his actions were directly tied to his own fate. This is the opposite of the modern banker who might sell risky financial products, collect a huge bonus, and then, when the system crashes years later, simply say, it was an unforeseeable event, while taxpayers are left to clean up the mess. Taleb calls this the Bob Rubin trade. After a former U.S. Treasury Secretary who collected over $120 million from a bank that later had to be bailed out by the public, Rubin kept his money. The public paid for his mistakes. That is the very definition of asymmetry, no skin in the game. This principle of symmetry has evolved through the ages. From Hammurabi's eye for an eye, it softened into what we now call the Golden Rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But Taleb points us to an even more robust and practical version, the Silver Rule. Do not do unto others what you would not have them do unto you. Why is this version better? Because it's about avoidance of harm. We know with far more certainty what is bad for us than what is good for us. The Silver Rule doesn't tell you to impose your idea of good on others. It simply tells you to mind your own business and not cause harm. It creates space, freedom, and respect. It is the foundation of a tolerant society. This simple rule, this idea of symmetry, seems obvious. But when you start looking for its absence, you begin to see a hidden architecture that shapes our world in the most surprising ways. And one of the most powerful and counterintuitive of these is what Taleb calls the minority rule. Imagine you're at a summer barbecue. The drinks are being served. A friend who keeps kosher, meaning they follow Jewish dietary laws, stops by. You offer them a glass of lemonade, and to your surprise, they accept. Another friend comments, around here, drinks are kosher. You look at the carton. In tiny print, there's a symbol, a U inside a circle, indicating it's certified kosher. You suddenly realize that you, and millions of others, have been drinking kosher products your whole life without even knowing it. How can this be? The kosher population in the United States is less than 1%. Yet, a vast majority of bottled and carton drinks are kosher. Why? The answer lies in a simple asymmetry. A kosher eater will never eat non-kosher food, but a non-kosher eater can eat kosher food. For a beverage company, it's a simple business decision. Instead of managing two separate inventories, two production lines, and two sets of labels, it's far easier and cheaper to just make all their lemonade kosher. The tiny intolerant minority, by their inflexible rule, forces the flexible majority to bend to their preference. This isn't a conspiracy. It's a natural outcome of system dynamics. Think about it in other areas. A person with a severe peanut allergy will never eat something that has touched peanuts. But a person without the allergy can eat peanut-free food. That's why airplanes and schools are often peanut-free zones. The most intolerant wins. An automatic car can be driven by someone who knows how to drive a manual, but the reverse is not true. Over time, the automatic transmission dominates the market, not necessarily because the majority prefers it, but because it accommodates everyone. Taleb argues that this minority rule explains the spread of ideas, languages, and even religions. He points out that in the United Kingdom, where Muslims are a small fraction of the population, a huge percentage of meat is halal. Why? The same asymmetry. A Muslim will not eat non-halal meat, but a non-Muslim can eat halal meat. For a butcher or a restaurant, it simplifies their business to just offer halal. This principle reveals something fundamental about how societies change. It's not always through consensus or majority vote. Often, it's a small, dedicated, and intransigent minority with skin in the game, or, as Taleb calls it, soul in the game, that drives the transformation. It only takes a few virtuous, intolerant people with courage to make a society function properly. This is a powerful idea, but it also contains a warning. Just as a virtuous minority can enforce morality, an intolerant and destructive minority can also hijack a system. A society that has chosen to be tolerant, Taleb argues, must be intolerant of intolerance. This is the paradox that thinkers like Karl Popper pointed out. For tolerance to survive, it cannot tolerate the forces that seek to destroy it. This dynamic of asymmetry, of the small controlling the large, also explains how we become slaves in the modern world, often without even realizing it. Imagine you own a small airline. You need a pilot for a flight tomorrow. You could hire a freelance contractor. It seems cheaper and more efficient. You sign a contract with a pilot named Bob. The contract has penalties if he fails to show up. But the night before the flight, Bob calls you. A wealthy sheik has offered him 10 times the money to fly to Las Vegas instead. The sheik's offer is so generous that it easily covers the penalty in your contract. Bob is a rational man. He takes the better deal. You are ruined. Now, imagine Bob was your employee instead. An employee is more expensive. You have to pay them a regular salary, benefits, and you lose flexibility. But an employee has something a contractor doesn't, much more skin in the game. An employee has a reputation to protect, not just for this one job, but for their entire career. They depend on that regular paycheck. They have shown, by the very act of being an employee, a kind of domestication. They are a housebroken dog, while the contractor is a wolf. The employee is dependable because they have something huge to lose if they let you down. You are, in a sense, buying their dependability. By giving them security, you are reducing your own risk of catastrophic failure. Taleb argues that we live in an age where people are no longer owned by one company, but by something worse, the idea of being employable. An employable person is always thinking about their reputation, not just with their current boss, but with all potential future bosses. They are careful with their words, they dress the part, they play the corporate game. They have given up a piece of their freedom in exchange for the illusion of security. The ultimate slave, Taleb notes, is someone you overpay and who knows it. He is terrified of losing his privileged position. This is the wolf from Aesop's fable, who sees the comfortable, well-fed dog but runs away in terror when he notices the mark on the dog's neck from its collar. Freedom, the wolf realizes, is never free. It requires risk. So, if having skin in the game is about risk and consequence, how does it help us tell the difference between real expertise and just the appearance of it? This brings us to one of Taleb's most memorable ideas. Surgeons should not look like surgeons. Imagine you have to choose between two surgeons. The first is the picture of perfection. He's fit, has silver hair, delicate hands, and speaks with a calm, measured voice. His office is lined with diplomas from the most prestigious universities. He looks like he was sent from central casting to play the role of a top surgeon. The second surgeon looks like a butcher. He's overweight, his hands are large and clumsy looking, his shirt is untucked, and he speaks with a thick, unrefined accent. There are no diplomas on his wall. He looks completely out of place. Which one do you choose? Taleb says he would choose the butcher-like surgeon every single time. Why? Because for that second surgeon to have succeeded in his profession, to have reached the same rank as the first one, he had to be so much better. He had to overcome the negative perception of his appearance. Reality, which is the ultimate judge of a surgeon's skill, is blind to looks. When your life is on the line, you don't care if your surgeon has a diploma from Harvard or a gold tooth. You care if they have skilled hands. The person who doesn't look the part, but has succeeded anyway, has been filtered by reality. They have proven their substance over their style. This is the opposite of a corporate CEO, who is often selected precisely because they look the part. Their job is to be an actor, to project confidence and follow a script. This leads to what Taleb calls the green lumber fallacy. The story goes that a man made a fortune trading green lumber, all the while thinking it was lumber painted green. He had no idea it was the term for freshly cut wood. Meanwhile, an expert who knew every intricate detail about the timber industry went bankrupt. The fallacy isn't that knowledge is useless. It's that we often mistake the wrong kind of knowledge for the right kind. We focus on the jargon, the credentials, the cosmetic details, while the person with real skin in the game, the trader, is focused on something much more fundamental: the dynamics of buying and selling. What can be put into a neat, clean narrative is often a sucker's trap. The real world is messy, and the knowledge that matters is often gritty, intuitive, and hard to explain. As one of Taleb's old trading mentors used to say, the people you understand most easily are necessarily the bolsters. This brings us to the ethical heart of the book, what Taleb calls soul in the game. This is about more than just personal risk. It's about honor, sacrifice, and taking risks for the sake of others, for a cause larger than yourself. If you don't take risks for your opinion, you are nothing. Virtue, in this view, is not something you advertise. It's not about writing a check to a charity or putting a sign in your hotel bathroom that says "protect the environment" just to save on laundry costs. That's what Taleb calls the merchandising of virtue. True virtue is what you do when no one is watching. It's about making sacrifices. The highest virtue is courage, and courage is the one thing you cannot fake. Taleb tells the story of the agent 007, James Bond. In the movie Spectre, Bond finds himself fighting a conspiracy within his own agency. He asks his gadget master, Q, for help. Q, a regular employee, hesitates, saying, "I have a mortgage and 2 cats." He has skin of others in his game. His personal responsibilities make it costly for him to take a moral stand. Society, Taleb observes, likes its saints and heroes to be unattached, free from the dilemmas that family and dependence can create. A person with a mortgage, 9 children, and a sick parent is easy to control. Their ethics can be compromised because they have too much to lose. This is why a free person is so rare. To be truly free, intellectually and ethically, you need to be immune to the threat of harm, not just to yourself, but to those you care about. The most virtuous act, then, is to take an unpopular position for the sake of truth. It's to stand against the mob when it is costly to do so, when your reputation is on the line. Anyone can signal virtue when it's safe. It takes courage to do it when it's dangerous. This is why Taleb's ultimate advice to young people who want to change the world is not to join an NGO or a government agency, but to start a business. Put yourself on the line. Take risks. Create something. Because doing business, engaging with reality, always helps. Grand, abstract plans to save the world often cause more harm than good, precisely because they are conceived by people with no skin in the game. Finally, we arrive at the book's deepest and most challenging idea: the link between skin in the game, ruin, and rationality. What does it mean to be rational? For most of modern social science, rationality is about having correct beliefs and making decisions that maximize your utility, like a calculator. But Taleb, drawing on a deep well of practical and mathematical insight, argues this is completely wrong. Rationality, he says, is about one thing and one thing only: survival. What is rational is what allows you, your family, your tribe, and ultimately humanity, to survive. Anything that threatens survival is, by definition, irrational. To understand this, we need to grasp a crucial concept called ergodicity. It sounds complicated, but the idea is simple and can be explained with a trip to a casino. Imagine 2 scenarios. In the first, 100 different people go to a casino. Each one gambles for a set amount of time. At the end of the day, some will have won, some will have lost. Maybe one person will have gone bust. We can look at the group and calculate that, on average, they had a certain return and a 1% chance of going broke. This is what statisticians call ensemble probability. It's a snapshot of a group of people at one point in time. Now, the second scenario. One person goes to the casino 100 days in a row. He starts with the same amount of money each day. Let's say on day 28, he loses everything. He goes bust. Is there a day 29 for him? No. The game is over. He has hit an absorbing barrier. Ruin. No matter how good his odds were on any given day, the simple fact that he was exposed to a small risk of ruin repeatedly, over time, meant that his eventual bankruptcy was a certainty. A 100% probability. The probability of success for the group of 100 people does not apply to the single individual over time. This is the failure of ergodicity. The ensemble and the time probabilities are not the same. This is a devastating critique of much of modern finance and economics. When a financial advisor tells you that the stock market has returned an average of 8% per year over the long run, they are giving you an ensemble probability, but you are not the market. You are a single person traveling through time. You can go bust. You can be forced to sell at the worst possible moment. Your returns are path-dependent. Sequence matters. In order to succeed, you must first survive. This is a logic that any trader, any entrepreneur, anyone who has ever taken real risks, understands in their bones. But it is a logic that is often invisible to academics who live in the sterile world of models and averages. Rationality, then, is the avoidance of systemic ruin. It's not about being right in every single bet, but about having a strategy that ensures you can keep playing the game. It's why you don't cross a river that is, on average, 4 feet deep. It's why our ancestors developed superstitions and religious rules that, on the surface, might seem irrational to a modern scientist. Taleb brings up the dietary laws of kashrut in Judaism. They are complex and seemingly arbitrary. But the point is not whether these rules are scientifically correct. The point is that the populations that followed them survived through millennia of hardship. These rules, these irrational beliefs, provided group cohesion and risk management. They were heuristics for survival. Survival comes first. Truth, understanding, and science come later. You must survive to do science. You do not need science to survive. This is the ultimate wisdom of skin in the game. It is the filter that has allowed life to persist and evolve for billions of years. It connects us to a logic that is far deeper and more rigorous than any theory written in a book. It is the logic of reality itself. Commentary. So, what do we take away from this whirlwind tour of Nassim Nicholas Taleb's mind? Skin in the Game is not a self-help book with a neat 5-step plan. It's something far more valuable. It's a new operating system for your mind. It's a lens that, once you learn to use it, changes the way you see everything. From the news you consume, to the advice you take, to the way you understand fairness and virtue. The most powerful lesson, for me, is the relentless focus on reality over rhetoric. In a world drowning in cheap talk, expert opinions, and virtual signaling, Taleb calls us back to the ground. He reminds us that what you say matters very little compared to what you do, especially when what you do involves taking a real, tangible risk. This idea redefines what it means to be an expert. An expert isn't someone with a fancy degree or a long list of publications. An expert is someone who has been filtered by reality, someone who has faced the consequences of their actions and survived. It's the entrepreneur who has faced bankruptcy, the surgeon with scars on their hands, the grandmother whose wisdom has been tested by generations. Time, Taleb tells us, is the ultimate judge. What survives, survives for a reason. This book gives us permission to trust our own instincts over the pronouncements of the intellectual yet idiot, the who is brilliant at explaining things but clueless about how they actually work. It teaches us to be skeptical of complicated solutions, top-down plans, and anyone who claims to know what's best for us without sharing in our risks. So how can we apply this in our own lives, starting today? Here are a few simple ideas. First, practice the portfolio test. The next time you hear someone offering strong advice, whether it's about an investment, a political issue, or a life choice, ask yourself a simple question. What skin do they have in the game? Are they exposed to the consequences of their own advice? This simple filter will help you cut through an immense amount of noise. Second, embrace the silver rule. For just 1 week, make a conscious effort to focus not on what you think is good for others, but simply on not doing to them what you wouldn't want done to you. This simple shift can transform your relationships, moving them from a place of judgment to one of respect and space. And third, look for the hidden asymmetries. Start noticing the minority rule in action all around you. Why is the menu at the company picnic suddenly all vegetarian? Why are all the sodas in the machine diet? When you see this principle at play, you'll begin to understand the powerful, non-obvious ways that our world is shaped by the stubborn and the committed. Ultimately, skin in the game is a call to courage. It's a call to live an authentic life, a life where your actions and your beliefs are aligned. It's a challenge to step out of the spectator stands and get onto the field, to risk, to fail, to learn, and to truly live. Because as Taleb so powerfully reminds us, a life without skin in the game is not a life at all. That was the book summary of Skin in the Game by Nassim Nicholas Taleb. We've touched on the main currents of this powerful work today, but I'll be honest with you, a summary is like a map, while the book itself is the territory. The real journey happens when you walk the path yourself. It's in those quiet moments, when a particular story or a simple phrase connects with your own experience in a way you didn't expect. This summary is here to help you decide if this book is worth your time and attention. If anything we've talked about today has sparked your curiosity or challenged your thinking, I encourage you to pick up a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning new ideas, it's an experience that can genuinely sharpen the way you navigate the world. A link to the book is in the description below. Also, if you found this journey valuable, please take a moment to click that like button and subscribe to our channel, Billionaire's Bookshelf. It helps us grow and ensures you won't miss our next deep dive into another life-changing book. Let's continue this journey of learning and growing together.